New Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith, giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it up and making sense of it all, exposing the fake news and giving you the real news. Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on New Right Network tonight. Follow us on Twitter. There's the handle down there at the bottom. Follow us on Twitter at NRN Tonight and my personal handle at Brian P. Smith. My cousin co-host, who should be back soon, as soon as we can find him, he's at Smith Radio. You can also listen to the show, radio, if you will, iheart.nrntonight.com. So you can tune in there 24/7 and listen to all the past shows. And if you ever have any question about anything, go to smith.tv. Everything's laid out there, and you can check that out. Also, help to support new news media. That would be us, giving you the real news and just showing you how blatantly dishonest the mainstream media has become, the propaganda that they're spewing, and it's all here on display, as well as all the information that we're getting real time on social media, real time through the internet, bringing it to you every single night. And tonight, I'm sorry I've got good news towards the end of the show. We'll get into some of the great news with the economy and some things that are Trump's decisions and the things that are going on that are making America great again. It's our job to help keep America great, and that's why we do this. But we've really got to touch on what's really happening in the world right now, and it's the domination of Islam. Islam literally dominating whole continents now, invading other countries where, as before, back in the day, 50 years ago, whatever, you would just go to war with somebody and dominate their country or take over certain areas and territories. But now we're seeing a new type of warfare. This warfare is where they're sending their people, their jihadist, militant, Islamic, and I don't want to make sound like it's not just Islam. Islam, if followed correctly, you would be a jihadist. If followed correctly, you would be a militant individual for Islam. So saying jihadist or militant Islam, I'm not making any light or trying to change the wording of it all, but it is all Islam, but acting in a militant behavior, not the silent majority, literally going into countries and dominating their areas. We're going to show you that tonight as Europe, Greece, France, Italy's trying to take care of their problem by electing a nationalist type president. England, I don't know, man. You can't even get Brexit. I don't know how you're going to get Islam out of London. I mean, you got the first London mayor, or first Muslim mayor in London, who's still there, just absolute terrorist sympathizer, just crazed as normal. But anyways, we're going to update some of the news as well. The Easter Day massacre that happened in Sri Lanka, just off the coast of India. It's gotten worse. 310 are reported to be dead. This by Real Saavedra on Twitter. And most of these handles that I call out, or most all of them, are all on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter and you want to follow these people, these are the individuals to follow. Real Saavedra tweets out and writes articles and things about real news. So he's on top of the button, if you will. So if you want real-time information, definitely follow Real, Saavedra. And if you have any questions, look down in the show notes below. All the links to all the different articles and all the different tweets that I have, you can find them down there in the show notes. And as we talk about Sri Lanka, it is very difficult for the left, meaning Obama, Clinton, Julian Castro, pretty much anybody on the left. It's impossible for them to say the word Christian. They had no problem talking about their feelings for Muslims that were attacked in Australia or in New Zealand. They had no problem sympathizing with Islam and the Muslims. But now when it comes to Christians, mostly Christians died in these bombings in Sri Lanka. At CALEBJHULL. It's really not hard to say the word Christian. You got Barack Obama tweeting out the attacks on tourists and Easter worshipers. Then you have this one by Hillary Clinton. Easter worshipers. And Julian Castro. Easter worshipers. Even in mainstream media, the AP referring to Easter worshipers, not Christian. This is an attack on Christianity itself. This is an attack on humanity. I know I reported on this yesterday, but we can't let this go. And I've been researching and I've been going through this. I've been looking into Islam for probably about the last 4 to 5 years. And what people are doing now, it blows my mind that these individuals, some of these young women putting on the hijab, some of these individuals that are sympathizing, like the Prime Minister of New Zealand. This is no sympathy. You cannot give Islam sympathy. Islam deserves no sympathy whatsoever. If there was a religion for evil, or if the devil had religion or a religion, it would be Islam. I said it. It's a fact. Everything that is dictated in the Quran. Yeah, this is the Quran I got right here on the desk. Why? Brian, why do you have a Quran? Brian, why do you have a bottle of lemonade? Because you've got to keep the two evils right front and center. You've got to know thine own enemy. You have to know these people. And you have to know their agenda and what they're attempting to do. And the Democrat Party aligning itself with Islam, sympathizing with Islam, is because communism has become such a toxic word, and socialism on display worldwide. How a better way to dominate and pretty much control through slavery your people than to install or allow Islam to flourish in America. Islam is the religion of slavery. Islam is an evil, freedomless, not religion, but cult. Islam is a freedomless cult that dominates the people that follow it. This is absolutely insane. We've got to call this out. And again, I was talking about a guy that I follow on Twitter, Imam of Peace. I'm confused by his tactics, but I'm still going to follow him till I figure it out. I'm assuming he's an imam. An imam is like a priest or a preacher, but that's what the Islamic culture refers to them to their leaders as imams. And he says Imam of Peace. And I'm finding it very difficult to understand how he could stay in the cult of Islam as an imam and still tweet out and say these individual things. And this is also breaking news. I mean, it's news that came out over the night yesterday and Monday. And so, and I talked about this yesterday. And let me just get this straight. The reason why I did not go live yesterday with the information I'm going to give you today is because I had no way to back it up and no way to verify it. And I want to make sure that we get it right. I better we get it right than we get it and maybe a little late, then get it wrong and be early. That's something that we don't want to do ever. But a lot of verification of some of this stuff. Imam of Peace, hashtag breaking. Sri Lanka's defense ministry says initial investigations show the series of bombings targeting churches and luxury hotels on Easter Sunday were a response to the Christchurch mosque attacks in March. And then his own personal take on this is, how would he then explain all the other atrocities pre-Christchurch? My sentiments exactly. The Middle East used to be dominated by Christians. Egypt, Christians. Turkey, Christians. Everywhere Islam has been allowed to flourish, there have been the slaughter of Christians, the persecution of Christians, the persecution and slaughter of non-Muslims everywhere. And then Islam, Sharia law completely dominate the entire country. Imams, like in Iran, you got the Ayatollah Khomeini. Imams are now put in place to lead and direct the country, and the installation of Sharia law. This is what's happening. This is not a joke. This is happening in cities here in America where Islam is allowed to flourish, in cities like Dearborn, Michigan. I know I harp on Dearborn, Michigan, but that one, I don't think we'll ever get Dearborn, Michigan back. But as they go to court, they start to introduce through a lawyer, Sharia law. And they say, they defend it. They make an example of, yes, he beat his wife, but according to his religion, in Sharia law, he's forced to beat his wife. And for you women, for the women that go and sympathize, and I've got a video of this woman who is promoting the way of Sharia law, promoting these ideologies, which is just absolute insanity, using racism, sexism, and bullying to, and I called it reverse racism, sexism, and bullying to get people to sympathize with her or somehow embrace her and embrace her religion. She's upset because she's the first female golfer who wears the hijab, and she's upset that nobody else wears it, and she sticks out, and poor me. Here, check out the video.
I've been called every racial slur in the book. I've been told that, people who look like me, don't play golf or don't belong here or you should go home. Don't let them dissuade you from what you're capable of doing.
Noor Ahmed.
I'm a current sophomore at the University of Nebraska, and I play on the women's golf team.
25 finishes in collegiate golf as a sophomore. Congratulations. She's the first Muslim to play college golf.
My experience wearing the hijab as a golfer is definitely unique. It's definitely more challenging mentally and emotionally because I kind of go around and no one looks like me, and I know for a long time probably no one will. I started wearing the hijab when I was 13, almost 14 years old, and it was a completely personal decision. A lot of girls and the Muslim community in general kind of look to me to help break stereotypes that they have to deal with in their daily life.
2017, people of color made up 18% of first-time golfers.
People hire people who look like them, and that's the problem. Golf
That's
should
racist.
Work toward becoming, obviously, much more inclusive and diverse, racially more inclusive to women, more inclusive to individuals from various socioeconomic backgrounds. I hope that I can show that golf is a game for everyone and not just stereotypically white men. And I think the next step is to not need to have a conversation anymore. I want to see action. I want to see the head of the USGA be an African-American man or woman. I want to see the head of the PGA of America to be, a woman.
This is reverse racism on display. She's complaining about not having women as higher ups in PGA, not having more diverse, colored individuals, people with color, not people with talent. Talk about people with talent in the PGA. Talk about people with intelligence running. No. They have to have a female anatomy to run this organization, and they have to have a specific skin color to be part of this organization. This is racism on display. Do not allow yourself to be sucked into the woe is me pity party. This is what's happening in America. It's at the very beginning stages, and we've got to fight this, or we're going to wind up like some of the things I'm going to show you that's going on in Europe right now, where they're completely and totally dominated. We've got one of the great New Right Network writers currently right now. I was talking with him today, and we were talking about the war the literally all-out assault and war on the border in America, and we've got tens of thousands of known illegal aliens coming across the border from countries on a no-flies, like a no acceptance countries. They're on the ban list, yet they're coming up through Mexico. He's writing an article this afternoon. Be looking into it. We'll be posting it pretty soon. And as soon as that's up, we're going to bring him on, and then we're going to talk about what's going on the border. I know a lot of breaking news and information is happening with the vigilantes, if you will. And we'll talk about that. Probably do that either tomorrow or Thursday. But a lot of great information coming out, and we want to get it right, not get it fast. So again, back to Islam in America, back to Sri Lanka and Easter Sunday attacks, which was an absolute 100% assault on Christians, the Christian faith, and those in whom humanity, people that just care about human beings. This is an absolute disrespect for human nature in general. And we have the Gateway Pundit. Here we go. Gateway Pundit, good friend of ours, good friend of the show, Jim Hoft and his brother Joe Hoft, writing for the Gateway Pundit. Originally helped founded Breitbart News and then started this channel on his own. And again, Islamic imam behind Sri Lanka's Easter Sunday attacks has numerous videos on YouTube preaching hate and inciting violence while conservatives are banned. Yes, that's right. Conservatives are banned. And this is one of the imams right there. This is the imam right here. For those of you watching the video, that has taken credit and has orchestrated the bombs. If you follow at Imam of Peace, he then retweeted out, he was part of the article. Jim Hoft put him in the article and his video clip that he posted. The terrorist behind one of the bombings in Sri Lanka was an Islamist extremist. No, man, he was an Islamic conservative, beholden to the Quran, and preacher by the name Mozafi Zaharan Hashim, with many lectures online and YouTube. Makes you wonder why YouTube never banned him for his terrorist ideologies. Anyway, here's part of the report. This from CNN News. CNN outside of the country. This must be a foreign outside.
Well, some information coming in at this point, and this again has got to do with the attacks in Sri Lanka. Well, the suicide bomber behind the attack at Shangri-La hotels in the city of Colombo. Well, some information coming in at this point, and this again has got to do with the attacks in Sri Lanka. Well, the suicide bomber behind the attack at Shangri-La hotel. You see this suspect on your screens right now. His name is Zehran Hashim. He is reportedly the suicide bomber behind the attack at the Shangri-La hotel. He goes by the name of Zehran Hashim. We'll try and get an idea about who Zehran Hashim is in a bit from now, but this is his picture.
So there you go. Islam on display. This is what Islam does. They destroy everything. If you do not bow down to Islam, they will force you to bow down. Even in the Quran, it says that if you are a good Muslim, you're required to convert, enslave, or charge a fee. And if none of that works, then behead them and kill them. It is a violent, I'm not calling it a religion. It's a violent cult, folks. And this cult needs to be dealt with here in America. It has to end. We cannot allow this anymore. We've got to speak up. Omar in office, AOC in office, whether she's Islamic or not, she defends Islam and defends her friends that are terrorist sympathizers. Elected officials, terrorist sympathizers on our courts. And this, I'm just just information. This is just real information for you guys. This is one of the terrorist bombers in Sri Lanka. This is one of the terrorist individuals in Sri Lanka. This is one of the terrorists in Sri Lanka. As you can see on CCTV, he's walking with his bomb strapped to his backpack, to his back. He's walking through people. There's another cut angle of him walking closer and closer to the church. And then you can see him back through the windows as he's coming around. And then he walks into the church during service, while service is being held, as he goes in and has a seat. And then from there, the bomb was set. Reported that 3 churches were bombed, 3 luxury hotels were bombed, 6 explosions in all. And then one of the writers at New Right Network, Fred Warner, posted his article yesterday. And check out newrightnetwork.com. Definitely jump over to the website. You see all the articles that are written there. Fred and I were going back and forth with a conversation, and he made this comment. He told me that tied to the Muslim Brotherhood through Al-Qaeda, linked to Hitler, back in World War II, Hitler absolutely got with and was using Islam and those that were trained in Islam to fight. And he goes on to say, we had the ISIS leader in prison, released him. He is now a low priority threat. He was a low priority threat. Bureaucrats, lack of big picture focus in DC. Islam is a minority religion in Sri Lanka. 9.7% of Sri Lankan population practice Islam. Although Islam is a minority, that's their goal, is to take over these countries. As we see that in New York, I think it was last week, we played a video in New York City, completely blocking off an entire street. I mean, it was long. There must have been thousands and thousands of people there. And you've got to understand, we don't understand what they're saying. We don't understand the language. We don't know what they're doing. And this is against our culture. They come to our country. They do not embrace our culture. They want nothing to do with our culture. Their goal is to come to our country and change our culture like they're changing other cultures. And this by our good friend Emmy at SERREMMY, mosque calling for the death of Jews and Christians. This has been translated, so I'll read it off as it plays through so you can hear them. Give us victory over the disbelieving people. Give victory to Islam and raising standards of the Muslims, and humiliate polytheism. I'm polytheist. Allah, give victory, help to your slaves who believe in the oneness of Allah, O the Lord of the worlds. Christianity is not we don't have lords in the world. This is not our final resting place. And it says this in the Bible, that the Lord of the worlds. O Allah, give them victory over the criminal people. O Allah, destroy anyone who killed Muslims. Allah, destroy anyone who displaces the sons of Muslims. Allah, count their number, slay them one by one, and spare not one of them. O Allah, purify Allah's mosque from the filth of the Jews. Okay, so there you have it. It's clear as day. You don't need to tell me about it. Mosques are bad. Islam is bad. The cult of Islam is bad. There's not one redeeming out of all that they were praying for. And this is the religion of peace. I call it the religion of pieces because that's what you wind up in if you don't follow it. You'll wind up in pieces. This religion on display, this cult on display worldwide. We've got technology at our fingertips to where we can clear view, show you exactly what's happening. And I can't help but to think about how much damage Barack Hussein Obama did to the world by allowing the founding fathers, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the ghost of John McCain, the founding fathers of ISIS, the death, the unbelievable destruction of ISIS, which has now been decimated. Thank you, Donald Trump. But yet we've got these cults, these groups of Muslims worldwide wreaking havoc. And again, it's not about the peaceful majority. It's about those that are actually wreaking havoc among citizens. There are countries now to where women will wear, that never did wear the hijab, and Islam was not part of their culture, that now wear the hijab because of fear of being raped by the Islamic the immigrants. And this is true. This actually happened here in America. This woman, now I'm going to warn you, I did bleep out the cuss words. So I did bleep that out, but you got to understand, this is happening here. She showed her camera down and showed a Canadian license plate. So I'm not sure if it's from Canada or not. So this woman, I just set it up. This woman is on the side of the road and a car full of immigrants. And he calls himself out, full of immigrants get out of the car and attempt to sexually assault her as she pulls out her cell phone and quickly starts to record it. God bless that she had the wherewithal to be able to do that.
Next time you grab my kid. Do you know what sexual assault is? Where am I going in? Am I going back to Afghanistan, right? I'm going back to Afghanistan, right? What? I sucked my dad. I sucked my brother's. I sucked my brother's. You grab my tits. You grab my tits. Touch my tits again. Touch my tits again. Oh yeah. Touch my tits again. Touch my tits again. Can rape me, you mother. What else are you trying to do? You try to pull over and sexual assault me?
Okay. All right, folks. I know that was a little violent. I know, I understand. And I know it probably made people uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable watching it again. But you've got to get uncomfortable to do something different. We cannot allow this to happen. This is real time. This is really going on. Social media is posting these things up. People are being assaulted, and we've got to speak out and speak up. As this is all over social media right now because of the bombings and the religion of peace once again on display from our good friend Emmy at SERREMMY. Thank you. And in the background, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5 women dressed in head to toe in all black in the the gown, the garb, beating each other on the streets. And one of them was holding a child. Now the child is now was dropped and now sitting right on the side of this road, sitting literally on the road as the women commenced to beating the hell out of each other. And if you don't know, in Saudi Arabia and in Iran, women make up the majority of the homeless, especially in Saudi Arabia, because women are not allowed to work. They're talking about letting them drive. Who knows? But the women have no rights in Saudi Arabia. Women have no rights in Sharia law. Women have no rights in Islam. There is no freedom for women in this culture. As women in Congress now promote it, wearing the hijab, promoting Islam, being sworn in on the Quran and not the Bible. This is the complete opposite of our culture, and it needs to be exposed and it needs to be gotten rid of. If you know somebody, and that's something else. As a Christian, we need to reach out to people who are Islamic. We need to reach out to them. People here in America, they're peaceful, and talk to them. There was a sign, a little in the church I go to. As we walk in, there was a little sign on the side, and it had a picture of a woman dressed in a hijab from head to toe in the garb. And I was a little bit nervous, like, oh man, what are they doing? I know the Pope is reaching out to Islam. The Pope is sympathizing with Islam. This Pope that we have now is just, he's gone full board off the rails. As I got closer to it, had some information there, and the whole gist of the ad, if you will, was that be on the lookout. There is a Muslim out there looking for Christ. Folks, there are Muslims out there wishing and wanting to be out of this slavery, that they don't want this. And we can show them the freedom that is Christianity. That's where it comes from. And I can't help but to think that the erosion of our culture and the lack of Christians, with the media lambaste Christians and Christianity, and it's just an era gone by almost. I mean, I remember as a kid growing up, suits and ties, and everybody went to church, and everybody prayed, and depending on what church do you go to, which one do you go to, and now it's not like that anymore, and it's frustrating. But again, refugees destroying Greece. For those of you audio only, this is video of refugees walking in Greece, setting fires. This was filmed April 5th, 2019. So this was filmed just recently. As they're walking right down the road, and they set fire to the side of the road, to the bush of there must be thousands. And these individuals look like they're in their 20s, young men. There was a couple of little youth, not many. Most of these are men. And the red arrow right there pointing to them, watching them set fire as they just march through Greece, destroying everything in their wake. This is what could and will be happening in America if we do not stop the nonsense. Political correctness out the window. We've got no time for that anymore. We literally have to confront this head on. First off, we've got to stop this nonsense on our own border to keep from these terrorists from coming up through our border that we know is actually currently happening right now. And for those of you audio only, this is a video. Muslim woman literally rips a baby out of another woman's arms, is standing right next to her, throws the baby up over her shoulder, and swings it at a man to attack a man. She's using a child as a hammer or some type of weapon. If you are a slave in Islam, and this makes perfect sense when you say it's not a religion of peace, it's a religion of hate. This makes perfect sense. How happy could you be as a slave? It would be a violent culture to live in. There's no possible way you could have any sense of self-worth, any sense of happiness. It's just not even possible. And I contend that the hijab and the garb and the dress, you absolutely destroy a woman's self-worth. Completely destroyed and totally enslaved. Oh, and I'm surprised they didn't take this one down off Twitter yet. Amazing. It's kind of hard to see, so I didn't mind putting this one up. But this is barbaric. A Muslim girl being stoned to death in Saudi Arabia because she's accused of adultery. This kind of cruelty is based on laws they want to implement in our own country over our Constitution. No Sharia law. And the reason why this probably hasn't been taken down is because she's used the word Sharia and put symbols in it. So it's not, and Muslim, the word Muslim, so that it doesn't really spell Muslim. And that's because of the Twitter sphere will take things down like this. You cannot show the barbaric acts. There are all kinds of documentaries that show the brutality, the evilness that is Islam. We cannot allow this to happen. Do not allow yourself, again, like the video I showed earlier, a sweet, young, beautiful looking girl trying to convince people that have sympathy for me because I look different and I've been called names and people hate me and it's the white man that's out to get me. Please side with me and Islam. Stand up and say, hell no. Hell no, we're not doing this. No way will we side with you or Islam. And now we've got Greece. Okay, now we have Europe on display. And thank you at T-Boots, T-E-A-B-O-O-T-S. This is Europe. Is this the course that is heading to the U.S.? Is this America's fate? For those of you audio only, I'll read it out for you. This is Greece. This is England. Tons and tons of Muslims. This is France. Total invasion. This is Germany. Marching. Tons of immigrants. This is England. This is France. Lots and lots. This is Belgium. Lots of Islam in Belgium. This is Sweden on fire. In case you didn't know what happened to Sweden last night, this is Bulgaria. This is Greece again. More violence. This is France. More violence of Islam on display. The Netherlands. Germany having cars being tipped over. Fighting with cops and riot gear. Just a bloody, bloody mess. This is the real news that you're not going to hear anywhere. I know it might be tough. It might be a little difficult to deal with this, but it has to be dealt with now. It has to be put on display, and everybody has to understand what is going on in Europe, because that is coming to our southern border, the back door of America, and we cannot allow this to happen. And this at Gen 198523. Our religion is prime. The cross belongs in the dustbin of history. The Australia government stops two jihadists from building an Islamic compound. In court, Dr. Musfud yelled that they are exempt from Australian law and can do whatever they want because of their religion, and video posted.
Would have been avoided if you just put in a DA. Should you have done things differently?
The cross does not belong on public institution. The Southern Chariot is the real constellation in the sky. It's 7 stars. The Southern Cross does not belong in public space.
Are you going to abide by the orders of the court, Mustafa? Will you abide by the orders of the court? Are you going to do the rehabilitation? What's happening with the site? Are you still going to use it?
Our religion is prime. The cross belongs in the dustbin of history.
This is what Islam thinks of Christianity. This is what Islam thinks of cultures that are not like theirs. Again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Some cultures are better than others. I'm just telling you, some cultures are better than others. And as we get into some of our culture here in America, Amy Meck, at Amy Meck, M-E-K, Rashid Tlaib's district, Michigan court orders a $50,000 payment called a mahr in Islamic marriage contract. The $50,000 payment is called a mahr, mandatory under Sharia law, paid by the groom to the bride, that legally becomes her property at the time of marriage. And this is an imam explaining this.
To fix a bride's mahr, that is the dowry of a bride from her husband. And what is the ruling to calculate it? We know that in Islam, there are pillars of a marriage, that without it, the marriage is void and invalid. And there are mandatory things that are part of the marriage, and there are conditions. And the mahr, or the money given from the groom to be to his wife before or during or after the contract, which is agreed upon both of them, this is a woman's right. And it is part of the obligations of marriage. So it can precede marriage, and it can be within the contract, and it can come afterwards, depending on the availability of the money with the groom and on their agreement. Is there a fixed amount? The answer is no. So would it be possible that a man marries a woman without naming a mahar, a dowry? The answer is yes. And what happens afterwards? Afterwards, the man is supposed to give her mahar, but because there was no prior agreement, there might be some dispute. He might give way less than the average. So the scholars say that it depends on the average of the dowry in the community she lives in. It is an issue of supply and demand. So if he comes and proposes and they accept his proposal, he says, I'm going to give you X amount of money. They may say, no, this is too much. Give us less than that. Or they may say, we accept. Or they say, this is too little. We want more. So
he talks about this mahar as an agreed upon money. He makes it sound like almost, and I was thinking about this myself in America, like a prenuptial agreement, like a prenup. However, in Islam, in the prenup, you must be enslaved. You must do exactly what your husband says. You must wear the hijab from head to toe, the garb from head to toe be completely covered. You have rules and regulations that you must live by as a woman. And this money given so that for payment of slavery. There is no freedom in Islam. There is zero freedom in Islam. So he makes it sound like, and he actually exposed himself. He actually exposed himself and slipped and said, the man paying the mahar, it's the man. At first he began to say that they negotiate, and then he went on to saying the man pays it, the man makes the decision on how much to give. And for the family to accept this money as sale of their daughter, nowhere in America would that be legal. But now, as we see, this craziness, as we see in Rashida Tlaib's district, the Michigan court orders a $50,000 payment of mahr and an Islamic marriage contract. The groom and the bride, that legally becomes her property at the time of marriage. At almost JINGO, Rosie Memos, will the experts be apologizing to Pamela Geller? And here's some of the photos. Some of the blue checkmarked individuals replying to Pamela Geller. Pamela says, ISIS says Sri Lanka jihad massacres were revenge for strikes on Muslims. Everything devout Islamic jihadists do, they claim, is in retaliation for the evils. Blue checkmark replied to her, only responding to Geller because this tweet is circulating in Sri Lankan circles on WhatsApp and Facebook, who probably have no idea who she is. Nobody, including ISIS, has claimed the attack. Don't listen to Geller on her topic. And this blue checkmark as well. Please, people, I want to reiterate that Amar said previously, but in my own words, don't trust this person's opinion, Pamela Geller, reporting or otherwise any statement she makes in regards to terrorism, conflict, security, or pancakes. Hashtag ISIS has not claimed responsibility. In fact, Islamic terrorists have claimed responsibility. Absolutely claimed responsibility in Sri Lanka. Sorry, guys, that's a fact. And as we're getting into the last part of the show, real quick, this is OAN, One America Network, and this is our Southern Borders, as tweeted out by @EchoTheCall.
New study reveals America's porous southern border has allowed over 10,000 illegal aliens from countries designated as state sponsors of terrorism into the United States. The federal data was obtained by the Immigration Reform Law Institute under a Freedom of Information request. According to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, over 60% of those came from Iran, followed by 20% from Syria and then 18% from Sudan. This latest evidence directly contradicts Democrats who insist the only immigrants coming to America are from Central and South America. These numbers are raising concerns in Congress, which fears illegal aliens from terror-prone countries could easily be operating terrorist sleeper cells in the U.S. Worryingly, with detention centers overflowing on the border, hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens like these are being dumped by immigration officials into the heartland of America. And once these illegals make it into the interior of the country, over 99% never leave. That makes the formation of terror cells within the U.S. a distinct possibility, especially with tens of thousands of unknown aliens sneaking across the border from countries known to sponsor terrorism. Former acting ICE Director Thomas Homan agrees, saying it's not the illegals who are arrested that Americans should be worried about. It's the ones who get away that are the real problem. And so far this year, some 158,000 illegal aliens have successfully crossed into the U.S., likely disappearing forever. We'll never know who they are, where they went, or what they're doing. Worse, even if they are discovered, if illegals make it to a sanctuary city or state like California, they can never be deported, regardless of their criminal history. Further proving Democrats wrong, ICE agents have still managed to apprehend and deport some 44 criminal aliens for being known or suspected terrorists. The executive director for the Immigration Reform Law Institute, Dale Wilcox, says these numbers are very concerning and that it's unacceptable to have over 10,000 illegals from countries who have vowed to destroy America.
There you have it right there. One America News Network, OAN or OANN, reporting real news in real time. And at Real Saavedra, Ocasio-Cortez rushed to politicize the horrific terrorist attacks in New Zealand last month, tweeting approximately 14 times about the attack, has said nothing, zero, about the Christian bombings. And then Ambassador John Bolton tweeted out today's State Department announcement, they will be offering up to $10 million for information on Hezbollah and terror organizations. And I'm thoroughly excited about that, taking it to them and offering up money. People will definitely start to break. But at least they're doing something. And then wrap it all up, folks, just on some happy news, getting back to Donald Trump's economy, hashtag opportunity zones. Real Donald Trump. In the old days, if you were president and you had a good economy, you were basically immune from criticism. Remember, it's the economy, stupid. Today, I have, as president, perhaps the greatest economy in history. And the mainstream media, it means nothing, but it will. And at Secretary Acosta, for 13 months in a row, the unemployment rate has been at or below 4%. Supply side economics warriors are blazing a comeback under Donald Trump. Trump's dream team, Stephen Moore, Art Laffer, Larry Kudlow, Steve Forbes, and David Malpass. These are, if there was a dream team of economic experts, that would be these guys. Donald Trump has picked the most incredible guys that you could find. And at Senator Kevin Cramer, created under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, opportunity zones help lift low-income Americans out of poverty by encouraging local investments in communities that have faced economic hardships. And now we have Shelley Moore Capito. Last year at Senator Tim Scott and I toured opportunity zones in Huntington and saw the incredible potential in these designated areas. You can learn more here. And White House tweeted out, opportunity zones are a big piece of President Donald Trump's tax reform. Rather than spending money on yet another Washington bureaucracy, they offer incentives for long-term investments in more than 8,760 low-income communities. We're seeing Donald Trump's policies in play, the complete opposite policies from Barack Hussein Obama. Some of the policies are the opposite of Bill Clinton, Bush era. This is probably perhaps never been tried the way that Donald Trump is implementing it. And it's just amazing how well he's doing and how well things are going with this economy. And at Marsha Blackburn, here's what tax reform has brought to our country: 3.2 million new jobs, a bigger paycheck for 90% of taxpayers, lowest jobless claim in 50 years. What an exciting time to be alive in America. Just absolutely having the opportunity to to grab a piece of the American pie. And it's just so great that Donald Trump, that we finally got somebody, promises made, promises kept. We kept electing these officials thinking that they were going to live up to at least one of their promises, two of their promises.
Ladies and gentlemen, as of this afternoon, the Undersecretary for South American Affairs emphatically denies any and all intervention in the current realignment of top positions in the Paraguayan Air Force. Thank you very much.
Wait. What about the Paraguayan Army's request for spraying subsidies?
Are there any Paraguayans here? No? Well, of course, their request for subsidies was not Paraguayan, as it were. The United States government would never have, if our president had not, and as far as I know, that's the way it'll always be. Is that clear?
What about the report? How can you say we aren't spending millions on spraying when the International Wheat Board has reported, and I quote, extensive contamination in the grain fields of southern Argentina?
The state microphone's cutting out on us. I'm awfully sorry. However, it's an unstate, so I must go.
Have they done it like Donald Trump?
Greetings, hot listers. I'm Amy Holmes, bringing you today's hot list at theblaze.com. Turns out that a new study finds that politicians are master liars because they actually believe what they're saying. Take Bill Clinton.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
According to researchers at the University of Eastern Piedmont in Italy, our former impeached president may have actually convinced himself that he did not engage in sex acts with the intern whose blue Gap dress proves otherwise. Even his own wife swallows his rationale, telling her friend, quote, "It was consensual, was not a power relationship, and was not sex with any real meaning." And then check out this incredible denial from former presidential hopeful John Edwards. He was shown a photo of himself holding his own baby in his arms, and he managed to tell ABC News it wasn't him.
I don't know who that baby is. I have no idea what that picture is.
That's definitely not the baby of Miss Hunter.
I have no idea who that baby is. I honestly have no idea.
And even Anthony Weiner of pervy Twitter fame denied it was him in the beginning.
The answer is I did not send that tweet. My system was hacked. I was pranked. It was a fairly common one. People make fun of my name all the time. When you name Weiner, you kind of get that.
Maybe he thought Carlos Danger was an evil alter ego that took over his Twitter account late at night while he was sleeping beside his wife. Who can actually know what they're thinking? But what's worse, a politician who knowingly lies in order to hang on to power, or a politician who actually believes he did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky? I don't know, ask Mark Sanford of South Carolina. After hiking an Appalachian Trail in search of his South American beauty, he now sits in the House of Congress. No pun intended. Maybe delusion works. I don't know. I'm Amy Holmes, who still believes that I've descended from a tribe of Amazonian princesses destined to conquer the world with gold cuffs, uncomfortable swimwear, invisible jets, and truth-telling lassos. What, Nick, that's not true? I can't dream? Reporting to you from the Blaze newsroom in New York City.
And folks, I'm telling you, the polling numbers, we got to keep talking about this. Don't think that the polling numbers are, and this is going to take care of itself. We've got to explain to people what's going on. We got to keep talking about this. We got to keep telling our friends and our family, and get involved in a campaign, get involved in helping out somewhere, somehow in your state. If you need help, direct message me on Twitter, or you can email me, brian@smith.tv. You ask me anything you want. If you need help, I've got ties with good, quality, great America First, Donald Trump agenda, GOP officials that wherever you are, whatever state you're in, we can get you plugged in and connected. We here, Smith.tv, we here help out every time and whenever the campaigns come around. My cousin now running for council member here in our town. And get involved. It's not that hard. It's super, super easy. We got a lot of MAGA candidates running now for 2020 in Congress. We've got Laura Loomer is running, I believe it's the 22nd district in Florida. Laura Loomer is running against an old dog Democrat that's been around forever, not doing anything for the people. Hopefully she'll get that seat. We got our good friend Deanna Lorraine out in California. I believe she's running against either Nancy Pelosi or Dianne Feinstein, one of the two, but she's young, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's articulate, she's a great public speaker, all the support in the world for her. And then our good buddy Omar out there going against Mad Maxine, had a real chance. I think 30% of the vote last time, had a real chance of beating Maxine Waters. This would be a great, beautiful upset to be able to take back Congress. We here at Smith.tv are implementing some new things. We're getting involved, and we're going to be bringing things online to combat the Democrats in Congress and to actually take back Congress and take it back for the long term. With that being said, thanks for hanging out, folks. Tuesday Thoughts, New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith, wrapping up all the breaking news, making sense of it all, exposing the fake news, giving you the real news. Share this with your friends and your family everywhere. We're on the Facebooks, on the Twitters, all over the place. So share, like, and follow. We'll see you tomorrow for Wednesday Wisdom.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.